Go! What's going on in Hot Atlanta? Live from Swanky 93.3 and the Heat 94.6 brings back the hottest hip-hop radio show live from K.L.P Entertainment and K.L.P Studios. Go! It's K.L.P Aftermath. Morning with your host, K.L.P Kennedy Lucas.
You know what it is? Put your hands up.
Tune in now on any audio platform.
Go.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Boy, howdy. Happy Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another exciting podcast here today. And boy, howdy, let me tell y'all something. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the K.L.P Aftermath podcast powered by iHeartMedia, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all so much. I am really happy today that I was able to give you guys yet another exciting episode here today. Let me tell you, this episode is very, very special because it is a wonderful, wonderful Friday. It's January 9th. The first week of the year has completed. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I truly hope that everyone has had a prosperous and spiritual weekend going into the weekend, but a week. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great week for K.L.P Entertainment. Let me tell you why. Simply because what had happened was podcast is officially back. Me and Evelyn Letitia, we're officially back with another exciting season, 2026 season. Let me tell y'all, it's been one of those, it's been a great episode, by the way. Evelyn's coming back into the studio to give us her grace and her presence because we're getting ready for another exciting episode here today. But you guys can watch the current episode available right now on any audio platforms you get your podcast from. We're talking Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and so much more. And you guys can follow us on social medias of Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube because we publish our episodes there as well. A lot of people have been tuning in. Hope, ladies and gentlemen, Hope is back in the building for Friday night. And we got a special one. I got such a good story to tell today as well, but we'll get to that in a minute, I promise. But what happened was podcast available right now. Listen to it. It's a great show. Me and E, we do it over 1,400, not 14 and 140, 1,400 followers on Instagram, by the way. We'd love to hear it. And by the way, you guys can listen to my latest gospel album, Holy Grounds, is available right now. It came out the 1st of January. That was last week. Let me tell you something. A lot of people have been messaging me, DMing me, text messaging me, say, hey, this album's pretty fire, Kennedy. You really gave your stank on this one. So again, it is my first ever gospel album. And let me tell y'all something. That gospel album, I'm just really, really proud to have done it. I'm always going to give my shout out to Monica, Dravion, Remy, the Kennedy Lucas Choir, Swanky Auras. It has been very, very exciting to put together just something just magnificent, Hope, and audience. It's been one of those things that I've just been so blessed and been so highly favored to put together, and I'm really, really excited. And also, my latest documentary, Dear Isaiah, is available right now on Relay. It's available right now in our link description, but also on the Relay app. All you have to do is download the app. Relay's doing this thing, ladies and gentlemen, that you can get a 7-day trial. Of course, you don't have to pay anything up front when you sign up. You sign up for that free 7-day trial, and while you're on that trial, you get to watch Dear Isaiah, my official new documentary for 2026. That story is really, really impeccable and is really, really amazing. It's followed the story of my business partner, in this documentary, Tony Stewart, his son, who unfortunately passed away a couple years ago due to sickle cell awareness or sickle cell disease, and we're helping spreading the awareness of sickle cell illness in our community, and it affects us in our community, ladies and gentlemen, not just around the world, but also in our community. So give it a look, watch it, share with your friends, help us spread the awareness, because that documentary is really, really powerful and impactful, and I'm really, really excited for that as well. Alongside with that, me and Hope. Hope is our producer for the show. Me and her got together for Kennedy and Hope's Coffee Talk. Gotta give a hand clap for that one. Again, check out the latest on Kennedy and Hope's Coffee Talk. Boy, howdy. Let me tell you, we had a week. Hope, let me tell you, Hope, along with Sarah, along with Chris, along with Mark, along with Tyrus, along with Monica, along with Simone, we have been really, really booked and busy this week, but I think I kind of like it. And I hate to say that as the CEO, and I'm not overworking my people, I promise. But I think I kind of like the busy week that we've had this week, because this is the first week of the year. And I'm really, really happy about being able to give you guys a Friday show. This is one of the things that I'm learning to do as a podcaster, as a broadcaster, and as an MC as well, to give you guys a lot of content. I know the last few weeks I've been skimming on this show because I've just been booked and busy doing other things, but I want to be locked in. That's just one of the things that I'm learning to do for everybody out there who's watching our show and who just really enjoy it, that I have to remember to stay locked in with everything that we got going on. It's one of those things that I'm working on it. You guys know I'm an IT, and I'm a technician as well as a podcaster, as a filmmaker, as a music composer. I have a lot of things going on, but I'm very, very happy about, being able to give you guys another episode for Friday. And I hope that everyone enjoys our content throughout the week. I know I post a lot. I know, I get it, but I have to as a podcaster and whatnot. So I thank you guys in advance is what I'm trying to say. From our heart to Spotify to our Instagram uploads down to our LinkedIn. Yes, I publish my podcast on LinkedIn because there's a following there too. And you guys help make this thing grow. Okay, so let's get to the topics of conversation. I do have 2 reviews on our show. We'll get to that towards the end. And of course, I'm going to talk about sports, as well as Hope's going to give us the latest in hip hop news on our front page news for the podcast today. But I wanted to kind of, every episode, if you guys know, I like to tell stories, because these are the stories that I've seen either my friends tell me or I've seen in person. And those stories in the podcast, they just work. Now, as we are dabbling into the first week of the year, and my offices has been locked in the first week of the year. That's just how it does when you run a couple of businesses. You're in your offices and you're in operations. You're planning what we call, and a lot of businesses call it Q1, right? So there's a lot of things in Q1 that we are working on. But my buddy Chris, he sent me a text message of a picture of his job. I won't name his job because I don't want him to get in trouble. But he had okayed me to talk about this thing that happened, and it's very, very interesting. I'm going to talk about it because I got the okay from Chris to give you guys that story. But everybody this week is locked in for Q1, the first week of the year, the first go round, whether in your offices. I have quite a few offices along with production, along with a lot of things with me personally, but a lot of my friends like Chris, they are working in either an office or they're working out in the field. My buddy Chris works from an office, and they had an kind of a departmental meeting, and it's really more like I want to say it looked like kind of like just a gathering, kind of like a opening retreat, if you will. When it comes down to it, it's an opening kind of thing, kind of form with his department. Again, I won't name the department or the department name that he works under and works in his professional career, because I don't want to get him in trouble, of course, but we got okay to talk about it. And I noticed something. And Chris told me a lot of things because we talk. Chris told me that there was a lot of people there that didn't look as happy to be there. And I get it. A lot of people, it's the first week of the year. Back to the I don't want to say, well, I guess I'll say it. Some people say back from vacation, back to the bullshit, right? And he does work in corporate. So it's a lot of bullshit when it comes down to working into corporate. And it's just one of those things that it just gets like, we were talking. I said, buddy, I know a little bit about that because I did work in a little bit of a corporate kind of world too. And he was telling me that a lot of people that was at his company's opening, gathering, retreat, whatever, that they didn't seem happy to be back. A lot of people are stressed. A lot of people look sad. A lot of people look pissed off and angry is what he was saying. So then I said, buddy, I don't believe you. I mean, I believe him, but I didn't believe him, right? Because I wasn't there. I don't know. But then he sent me a picture. He sneaked a picture. He sneaked a picture of how the layout was. And I saw that. I said, oh, buddy, I believe you. Because it looked like, because they had a lot of young folks that's working into corporate. And Chris is amongst one of those young people because he's young, right? He's he's around my age, maybe a little bit younger, right? So I get that, companies hire a lot of young folks because maybe some of these folks are either just coming out of college or have been out of college for a few years and now landed their corporate job. So I understand it. But I saw there was a table and it was set up like, it looked like, and I won't show you because it's going to expose where he works, and I'm not about to do that. But it looked like on one side, it had all the young folks together. And then on one side would look like your Susans, your Karens, your Bethany's, even though Bethany's kind of a young name, but like your Susans and your Nancys and your Carols. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The seasoned veteran workers that's been there damn near 20 years. And then you've got the young folks that might have been there, let's say about 3-4 years, right? And it was so weird because it was just like the weirdest thing to me because usually, and I've been to quite a few company openings or retreats or whatever, and a lot of companies, they want you to be all introverts with each other, right? Normally, if I was a manager of a company that were doing a gathering, I would try to make it my mission to have everyone talk to each other. You may not like each other, right? I've been in positions where I don't like all the people that I'm working with, right? But you keep professional because that's the best way to do, right? I do think we are in this sink or swim environment society right now. Everybody's clinging to be on the very, very top. I do say to a lot of people who work in any job, really, it doesn't have to be corporate, any job, always protect your peace, your mental health, and always look out for folks because I seen it too. Like I've seen the photos. Chris was telling me everybody was hugging up on each other. Well, not like that, but like, hey, how you doing? Hugging. I never do that, right? Because I've never will hug a supervisor or a boss as an interaction because those are people, they're not your friends, right? Those people are not, and this is what I told Chris, right? You got to play the game. You got to play the game. We can be cordial and we can be professional, right? But we don't have to be, we can't be best friends if you are in a higher position than I am, let alone someone I have to report to, right? You can be professional. And this is what I told Chris, because Chris was like, ugh, and I get it. I understand it. You can be professional, but you don't have to be best friends with either supervisor or a superior or a person, because let me tell you something about managers and supervisors. And I pray that I'm not like that with my people here at K.L.P Entertainment Filmworks, and also in other businesses that I help with. I hope I'm not like that. I hope I don't be that boss, right? Because I want to be the cool boss. I really do. I do, because it's my personality. But I've learned in previous positions long time ago that number one, you can't be best friends with somebody that's superior to you. And number two, you can't tell your business to a lot of people. You just can't, right? Because I've learned it that if you give them an inch, whoever that is, they're gonna want to take 10 miles, right? If you say that you do this and third on the weekend, that might come back to bite you in the ass, right? You don't want to tell people that you're skilled in A, B, C, D when they really want you for E, F, G, and H, right? Because guess what they'll do? I'm putting a lot of young folks that's going to this corporate world. I'm putting y'all on game. Do what is, and this is what I told Chris too, because Chris is very talented, right? And there was a project that he was very skilled in, but he didn't get called in. I said, Chris, don't do it, because if they're not paying you and that's not in your job description when you got hired, you are not obligated to do it. But I also say to Chris, my buddy, I said, don't tell them that you do A, B, C, D, E, because they're going to make that as part of your priority for the same pay. Because that's what people do. People are vicious like that, right? I do think managers and superiors, sometimes they'll cling on each other, and they'll cut your throat to get them to the top if it's wanted and warranted. They will burn people to get to the top. I've learned that so many times in previous job positions, and that's why I'm very careful. Whether it's in film production or anything else, I tell them, I'm going to tell you what you're hiring me for, but I won't tell you the side stuff that I like to do and can't do, technical or physical or emotional, because I don't want to make that a part of my priority for the same amount of commission that you're offering. Right? I also saw there was from his picture, I can tell there was a little bit of it looked like a divide, right? It looked like seniority divide. It also looked like, because again, there's I'm not throwing race into this scenario, but let's throw race into this scenario real quick. You know, on one side it was a bunch of white folks, and another side was a bunch of black folks. So it's like, wait a minute now. Because I joke with people, and I'm joking on the podcast, and I'm joking on tonight's show, but this shit is real. Like, things like that does happen. I wish we in society don't think that way, but you know, that's just how the world is. It's a tough world that we live in today, right? I told my buddy Chris, that is the funniest thing that I've seen, because like when I look at pictures, and me and Chris was talking about it, because again, we wrote it in our script for tonight's show, and I said, hey, can I talk about this? He said yes. But then when I looked at the pictures, Hope and audience, I analyzed these things. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, so it's seniority, when it comes down to it. And then like, why is the table got all black folks and then this table got all white folks, right? And let's be honest, I'm in Atlanta. I'm in the state of Georgia. I'm not saying I'm not saying every black person is racist. I'm not saying every white person is racist. But honestly, people are racist, but secretly don't announce it. Obviously, you don't want to announce that, hey, I'm a racist, right? But I genuinely believe that people are racist, right? In these corporate jobs, they just can't say it out loud, obviously. And I don't know. And I told Chris, I don't know if they did that unintentionally or intentionally or not. But I do like I say, as I end this story, it was weird. Chris, I believe it because I saw the photo. Chris telling me they all touchy feely. I even say that here at K.L.P Entertainment. Like, if Tyrus wants to say hey to Hope and they want to do hugs, cool. I'm cool with that. You know, as long as it's professional, don't come hug me. Don't come hug me. Because I'm not going to hug you. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think in a professional setting, and Tyrus, I ain't picking on you because I know you're here in the studio too. I ain't picking on you. I just don't do it, right? I don't do it in any other jobs that I got called up for. I just don't, because that's a slippery slope, right? We could do a handshake. Now here at K.L.P Entertainment Filmworks, with Tyrus and James, and I do dabs, right? I dab them up, sure, why not? I don't care. Hugs, I hugged Monica and Hope professionally, but they all got boos and bays and whatnot. So I got to keep it copacetic and keep it respectful. But I said to Chris, hey Chris, don't you hug these ladies? Them ladies, because there was a lot of ladies at his thing. Like, don't you hug these ladies? They you black and he's white. They might say something else, buddy. I'm kidding, guys. Like I say, I don't think all white girls are crazy and want to cut our dicks off, right, as black men. I don't believe that. There's a lot of people. Evelyn, she jokes with me, but she got a point. You got to be careful. But I also believe that there are some genuinely nice people, whether you're black or white. It's just you kind of have to keep an eye out for those type of people. But like I say, that's just what happened with Chris this week at his meeting. Chris, thank you so much. I know you're watching. Thank you so much for allowing me to tell your story. Again, I'm glad. Of course, I didn't mention his company or his corporate job or what position he does because, again, that's a slippery slope. You got to be careful what you say on a podcast nowadays, right? I'm always careful what I say because sometimes my old positions, you said this on your podcast, like what? And I said to that, like, what does my podcast got to do with this job? That is free time. That is personal time. And there's some sanctions you can get away with that too. But very, very interesting story when it comes down to it. Chris, thank you all so much. Like I say to a lot of people, because as we are getting ready for 2026 and you're getting started with week 2, we are in a bob and weave society session right now. And what I mean about bob and weave, do what you get hired to do, collect your bread, go home, don't think about it. Right? I had another friend that asked me, you don't think about work when you get home? Hell to the no. When I get home, I think about what I'm going to cook for dinner. Or even after my long, busy day, what kind of workout exercise that I'm going to do right after work. I ain't thinking about work. Work is shut off for the rest of the evening, the rest of the day. We're going to start again the next day. I think a lot of people, and this is the thing, and I won't go on a tangent, but this is the thing that I say, this is what we call, and it's still called this, and people still doing it. It's called quiet quitting. And it's not saying quitting from your job. No, you shut it off at a certain time because you're not getting paid unless you are. You ain't getting paid at overtime. So shut it off when you are done. That is one thing that I encourage people. If you are watching this podcast, yes, show up for your job. Do a bang up job, right? You want to do well, right? You want to succeed. But at the end of the day, when you home, don't you crack open that computer. Don't you crack open nothing else. The only thing you cracking open is some food and maybe Netflix and HBO and the things you are watching, right? Speaking of cracking open Netflix and HBO, I got to get an air horn for this one. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do a hot take. Here's my hot take. Y'all ready for it? And I know this hot take might be a little rough for some people. I think this hot take is going to be rough for my parents because they watched the other show that I'm about to mention in 2 seconds. My parents, shout out to my parents. They grew up. Well, not grew up. I mean, they were full-fledged adults. We were kids when this show came out and we watched a little bit of it, but we didn't understand it. My parents watched Grey's Anatomy. Good show, by the way. I watched Grey's Anatomy too. Grey's Anatomy I watched up until like season 7 and beyond. It's just getting stupid. Sorry, Grey's Anatomy. Sorry, Shonda Rhimes. I don't like the new Grey's Anatomy. I prefer the old Grey's Anatomy because the story was better. That's just my hot take on that. But here's another hot take. The Pitt. I gotta say it. I think The Pitt is better than Grey's Anatomy. I know. Hot take. Because I was able to catch the first episode of season 2. Now, let me tell you something about The Pitt. Now, The Pitt, and I think I reviewed it when it first came out. Or not when it first came out, but when I binge watched it, I watched it and gave you guys a review of season 1. I can't remember which episode it was with our podcast, but you got to dig through it because I can't remember. Now, The Pitt is American medical procedural drama series focused on the daily lives of healthcare professionals in Pittsburgh Hospital as they navigate personal and work-related challenges. That is the synopsis of this. Is the realistic portrayal. The show offers a deep dive into a pressured face by the frontline healthcare workers, highlighting both heroics and struggles within a modern medical environment. And let me tell you something. This show has won quite a few Emmys this last year. And of course, I got to give a shout out to Noah Weil. He is a Emmy winner, along with all all of these cats. If you were in season 1, you are an Emmy winner, because if your show wins an Emmy, then that looks really, really promising on your resume, right? I got to give a shout out again to Noah Weil because his character, Dr. Michael Robbie, and the last name, Romovich, I probably butchered the character's last name, but I'm very, very happy about him because he's been acting for years, right? He was in, what was that, General Hospital. He played a doctor, but he was kind of not a side character, but he was a co-star on that show way back when. So now he's getting his start in The Pitt, and he's acting his ass off in this. Like, my favorite episode from The Pitt for the last season was a season where he was having kind of a panic attack because a lot of shit was going on at the Pittsburgh Hospital, right? That happens to us when there's a lot of crazy shit going on. His mental is crashing on him. And I think he captured that scene so well. I think that's the scene that won him that Emmy. Honestly, besides the character, that monologue and him crashing out and crying, that is what got him that Emmy. I got to say it, hands down. So I'm very, very happy about Noah Weil. It's been a long time coming for him because, again, this dude's been acting for years, right? And sometimes you got to wait years to get that glory. But once you get that glory, it's bittersweet. So I like this show because, and they're doing it again this year, this season. I'm so glad they didn't change their format. Each episode is the time. Episode 1 is 8 a.m. Episode 2 is going to be titled 9 a.m. Episode 3, 10 a.m. All the way up to 8 p.m., right? Because that's the storyline. So you have a massive, gigantic day put into a season. I'm very, very excited for this one because this season 2 is the time frame is scheduled around July 4th. 4th of July weekend. I can't wait to see what more is happening within this expanded long day within the series, or the season rather. I can only review episode 1 from season 2 because that's all we have. We don't have episode 2 yet. It comes out this coming week. I'm very, very excited about this show because it's gory, it's gruesome, but it's storytelling, right? You're going to see what these doctors are doing, and this is what doctors are doing on a daily basis as healthcare professionals, right? That's why I gotta say that I think The Pitt is better than Grey's Anatomy, and I'm not, because Grey's Anatomy won a couple of Emmys too, but I think I prefer The Pitt better because, like, it is a story, but you can learn some medical things from this show. Now, I'm not going to say if you watch this show, you're going to become a doctor. I'm so not saying that because you got to go to medical school for all of this. But you can learn a thing or two from this show and the storyline and these characters. I can't wait to see what Dr. Melissa Mail is doing now. Taylor Durden plays Mail. Mail's talking to herself, right? Because she's going through some things because of her sister. In last season, she had some issues with her sister. I can't wait to see how she's going to transform. She's probably going to lose her mind in this season. You got Whitaker's coming back. Jaron Howell. Whitaker's, he's embracing about losing a patient, right? In season 1, he lost a patient, and it nearly destroyed him, right? You got Fiona Dourif. She's playing Cassie McKay. Dr. McKay. She's been doing some things with her she was on a ankle monitor and she's going through some stuff, and then she's doing all the things because she has a kid. Can't wait to see how her character trends into this. I'm very, very excited for this season. There's a lot of characters to which I won't dabble too much into because there's a lot of characters in this series, but I'm just really, really excited. You've got it as a Heart Start, hospital. This is Robbie's last shift in this season, so I can't wait to see. I do think that, and I'm praying, I'm knocking on wood here, wherever I can find wood in stage. First and foremost, I pray that the Pitt gets a renewal, right, for season 3. It's it's hard. Every studio, every streaming service, they're trying to compete, so it's hard to make sure that you're going to get renewed for something, right? I hope this show gets renewed for season 3, because if it is, Robbie ain't going nowhere, right? Robbie ain't going nowhere. He might, because in season 1, he crashed out. So in season 2, he said, hey, this is my last shift because I'm going on a spiritual journey. I'm going through a lot. I'm taking moments away from this hospital so I can cleanse myself. So when I come back, I could be refreshed as a doctor, right? I'm very, very excited for this season, ladies and gentlemen. First, let's get the air horn first for this Emmy winning show. I can't wait. I love it. I do say to a lot of people, this show is gruesome. So if you don't have the stuff, I wouldn't watch this show while eating something because it will make you sick. With me, because I also kind of work in healthcare a little bit too, so I kind of see some of the things a little bit, so I'm accustomed to it, and plus my parents were nurses. But if you are not dabbled into the medical field, you might get sick if you're trying to eat something and watch this show, but it's a very, very good show. Really, really fantastic. I do want to say one thing, right? Because we were talking about medical healthcare workers. And if anybody doesn't say it, I will say it. To everybody who is either watching the show or listening to the show tonight, it has been to our attention that politically, and we won't go too much in politics, but there was an article in news a couple of weeks ago that came out that said that healthcare providers are non-essential, that they're not important. I got to sit here and say I beg to differ. I beg to differ on Medicare healthcare providers, healthcare workers, because if anybody doesn't tell you, whoever you are that's watching our show tonight, you are very important. You are very valuable to our lives. Healthcare providers, whether you are a nurse, scrub nurse, RN, doctor, dentist, even if you are a janitor that works at a hospital, you are important. I think we need to acknowledge our healthcare providers because they want what's best for our better health. They went to school for 12 damn years to get this degree. And half of these doctors and RNs and nurses, God bless their soul, they go into debt because they went to school to learn this craft, right? I know quite a few friends who are nurses who are doctors who are in $100,000 worth of student loan debt because they wanted to learn the craft. And for you to turn around and say that these people, healthcare providers, are not important in America, you've got to be out your goddamn mind. And I hate to bring, because I'm Christian, I'm a man of God, but I hate to, you must be out your mind. Because we need doctors and nurses and scrub nurse and dentists, physical therapists. I want to throw in personal trainers, but that's another thing. It's sticky with them. We'll leave them aside for a second. I'm talking about medical doctors that wants what's best for our health. Now, are there some crooked doctors and nurses out there? Yes, there are. Right? Some doctors out there in the world, they may do malpractice and go against their Hippocratic oath. There are some doctors like that, and that sucks. Yes, I get it. But there are a lot of good nurses and doctors that are very, very. I know one friend, he's a nurse, good buddy of mine. We went to college, right, together at GGC. Shout out to Ben. Good guy. And Junior too. I know them too. Nurses, learning their craft, working in a hospital, going through some of the tough shit. Right. Ben tells me a lot of things that, he's going through, not with patients because that's HIPAA, but like mentally what he goes through. And I get it. I understand it. I haven't worked in a hospital, right? But I understand it. So I just had to say that, Hope, in audience, because, I think a lot of nurses and doctors, they're finding themselves getting a little discouraged because they think that we don't need them in America, and we really do. Because if we don't have nurses and doctors and scrub nurses and dentists and all of the medical needs that we need, we will be screwed as a nation. I'm gonna come out and say it. Not trying to get political, but that's just my personal belief. We will be screwed without doctors and nurses caring for us. Right? My mom, shout out to Mama. She's a nurse practitioner. And she worked in hospice. She no longer works in hospice because it took a toll on her. For all of you guys who don't know what hospice is, it is assisting patients that are getting ready to transition, getting ready to die, right? And it bugged my mom, right? It really shook her when she didn't lose patients. They were in hospice. They were dying. And it took a toll on her. That's why she kind of shifted away from that, right? Even to my dad, being a nurse, my dad seen and lost patients, right? Not onto his fault, but like it happens and it bugs him. He's a nurse, but he kind of shifted gears too. Now he's a professor teaching this craft now, right? Doctors and nurses, they're on their feet 12, 14-hour shifts to care for us. So I just had to say it. I just had to get it out there. Shout out to you, nurses and doctors. Nurses and doctors. Okay, so let me turn it over to Hope real quick, and we'll be right back. Hope is going to give us the latest in hip-hop news. Go ahead, Hope.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, Kennedy, so your favorite Joe Budden took strong issue with Aiden Ross's Ducci criticisms. And DJ Academics explained why he's not checking Ross's Budden disses. Aiden Ross's criticisms of Ducci have spiraled into a bit of a media toss-up between Joe Budden, DJ Academics, and a few other figures. But it's important to clarify things when relationships get contentious like this. On the most recent episode of his podcast, Budden called Academics to confront him about not defending him to Ross when he was trashing Joe for his criticisms of his attacks against the top dog Star. If you can't tell, the game of telephone is long here. As caught by Joe Budden Clips /fan page on Twitter, the former coworkers had an interesting conversation. AK said he wants to squash Budden and Ross's issues, whereas the former said he didn't care about that and only had concern with Academics' remarks about Joe. AK understood where Budden is coming from, but also feels like he and Aden get ganged up on by folks outside of their audiences. Joe Budden responded by calling his man Academics and felt like Ac didn't defend him properly. Then DJ Academics said he understands the love that's there even in critical moments, and Budden just wants Ac to show that love more clearly and consistently. If he does that, then he's happy. Academics said he relates to Aden Ross's situation as a maligned younger content creator against old heads, and said that threats of violence against Ross have exacerbated those rifts. Academics finished by throwing his support behind Joe and giving him his props, understanding his character and his best interests even when he's critical of Ac. You'll never see a world where it's Academics versus Joe Budden, Academics remarked. For those somehow unaware, Joe Budden and DJ Academics were both hosts on Complex's Everyday Struggle show, one of the defining hip-hop media pieces of the 2010s, whether you loved it or hated it. It was basically the representation of the old head / new head rift of the SoundCloud era and laid the foundation for better or worse for hip-hop media today. As for Joe Budden's beef with Aiden Ross, we'll see if that gets another update. Even with DJ Academics wanting to squash things, it's not looking promising. Fetty Wap may have gotten out of prison much earlier than expected, but he's still got a long road ahead before true freedom. Fetty Wap is out of prison, but he's got a long journey before he gets to live life on his own terms. The hitmaker will have to follow some strict release conditions after he completes a stint in home confinement. He's there right now per a spokesperson for the U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons, BOP, CNN can confirm. They told the outlet that Fetty Wap was transferred on January 7th, 2026, from the Federal Correctional Institution, FCE Sandstone, Minnesota, to community confinement. This is being overseen by the BOP's Philadelphia Residential Reentry Management Office. Excitingly, this won't last too long. The My Way songwriter will be done there on November 8th per TMZ. After that, though, the 34-year-old has 5 years of tight guidelines he will need to follow. The outlet says he will need to undergo drug tests, will be prohibited from opening any new bank accounts unless federal agents approve it. Moreover, Fetty will need to inform the U.S. Probation Department about his earnings and tax records. On top of that, the consumption of any alcohol or other intoxicants, unless granted a prescription by a licensed physician, is prohibited. If the court decides to, Fetty Wap may need to participate in an outpatient drug treatment program. He would have to submit to testing during and after the treatment program to ensure his abstinence. Fetty Wap was released from the low-security facility in Minnesota on Wednesday, with reports exploding onto the scene yesterday, January 8th. The Breakfast Club's Lauren LaRosa shared a statement from the rapper, and he sounds ready to improve. I want to thank my family, friends, and fans for the love, prayers, and continued support. It truly means everything to me. Right now, my focus is on giving back through my community initiatives and foundation, supporting at-risk young children by expanding access to education, early tech skills, and vision care for young kids and students so they can show up as their best selves. I'm committed to moving forward with purpose and making a meaningful impact where it matters most. The Trap Queen talent was sent behind bars for a federal drug trafficking charge in 2023. He received a 6-year sentence on top of the 5 years of supervision. However, his release kept getting moved up, with the last update coming in November 2025, when he was slated to be freed on December 8th, 2026.
Thanks, Hope. Love you so much for what you do for K.L.P Entertainment. As always, I'm always very, very excited. Now, before I turn it over to myself when I get ready to talk about sports later on into this podcast, I have another review. I told you guys are going to get a good show. Our show might go over an hour because it's Friday. You know, I got to give you guys a good Friday episode. Now, okay, so I got a video game review that I wanted to talk about. I'm very, very excited to talk about this one because I was able to pick this game up. I was looking at my Switch and I wanted something new to play, but something that I can handle. And I was debating on Octopath Traveler 0 or Legend of Zelda Age of Imprisonment. I ended up going for Legend of Zelda Age of Imprisonment because I've played the Legend of Zelda game. I played a lot of Legend of Zelda games this last year. The reason why I did that is because I played Twilight Princess when I was a kid. I never played. Well, I did play Wind Waker when I was a kid, but I didn't understand. I was a kid. I didn't understand it. And I kind of took a step back and away from Legend of Zelda games because my interest was on other games. But last year, 2025, and even 2023, I did pick up and play Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Good game, by the way. I didn't beat it, but it was okay. And then, and I say okay, it was a great game because a lot of people would snark at me right now if they said it was a great game. But when I try a video game, I try not to go for the same video games. Like each year there's a new version of a game, or from a franchise, there's a new game from that franchise, whether it's like Forza or Sonic or Mario or Call of Duty. You know, I try to. The franchise are great, but I wanted to try something new, is what I'm saying. And this last year, and on the podcast I reviewed the Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. That was a Zelda spin on Zelda's own 2D game. That game was really fun. I haven't beat that game yet, but I'm playing that too. And then Link's Awakening, like the remaster, redone Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. Good game too. Hard, can be hard as nails sometimes, but is good. And then I also played Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Wanted to try it out. Wanted to try it for Switch 2, right? Bought it, played it. I enjoy it. It was pretty good. I haven't beat that one yet because it's a big game. But if you guys don't know, I've been a fan of warrior games. I have. I played Fire Emblem Warriors, beat it. Good game. Very, very good game. And I think there was another Warriors game that I played for 3DS. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a Warriors game. So Legend of Zelda Age of Imprisonment is a Warriors type game. Now, Koei Tecmo Games, that's the company that makes the Warrior games, and they are really fun. But some of the Warriors games, you don't want to be where you're button mashing a lot because it gets repetitive, it gets boring, right? So that was kind of my fear with Age of Imprisonment. So I've got a friend, shout out to Lee. Shout out to you, Lee, if you're somehow watching the show. He plays Legend of Zelda Age of Calamity. I didn't get that game because I was playing other games. I skipped over it, right? I'm sure it's a great game. I just haven't. I'm probably going to go back and play that one when it's on sale. Age of Imprisonment is the newest one that just came out. So if I'm going to buy a good game, you might as well buy a game that's recently just came out. And that game came out in December of last year. So it just came out. So the story is following Zelda. Of course, it intertwines with Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom because Link and Zelda, they're going through this dungeon, right? And then she finds a stone and then she travels back in time. And that's where Zelda is at while you're playing Link Tears of the Kingdom. So this game is following Zelda because now she is traveling, and I like it when two games are intertwined into one. I love how they do that. That writing is so clever. But now Zelda's back in time. She's in the past, right? She's going to meet up with Rauru and Sonia, the king and queen of Hyrule, right? So now she's back in the past. Now she's current princess of Hyrule in the future, but now she's going back into the past, and now she's going to join the king and queen along with others with the imprisonment war. And that's the premise of the game. I'm pretty sure you're going to fight Ganondorf within this game. And I'm only doing a small because I just played it yesterday. So I just kind of want to give you guys my first impressions. I haven't beat it. Obviously, it just came out and I just bought it yesterday. So I haven't beaten it yet. But I like it. I do encourage people to pick it up for Switch 2. Because you get more power, you get more 4K, 60 frames, smoother resolutions. So I'm always going to encourage people, if you're going to buy a game for Switch, get it for Switch 2 because you get the best. I know it's expensive, but get it because you're going to enjoy that much better. And I like it. I enjoy the Warriors games. I'm glad that this game is not just button mashing all the time, right? I do like it how with Koei Tecmo and Nintendo, they say, okay, this is a Warriors game, but let's add some strategic elements when it comes down to this game, right? And it works. It really does work because strategically, when you're in battle, fighting 100+ enemies, you can do all kinds of funky, cool effects and moves from Zelda down to you can play as Zelda. I'm sure you can play as more characters. I haven't gotten there yet, but Zelda, Rauru. Rauru is actually my favorite character because I like the voice actor. I like the character design. I just like Rauru, King of Hyrule. You can also play Minoru. She is the sister of Rauru. So she has a little bit of royalty. You can play with her, and she has some cool moves too. But she has like little, puppets that fight for her, and that's cool and all. But I just prefer combat personally. That's why I think Rauru, along with Zelda, is my favorite because Rauru is a tall guy, strong guy. He's king of Hyrule, and his voice acting is really cool. Whoever voiced him is really, really dope. So that's why Rauru, king of Hyrule, is my favorite character to play in Age and Imprisonment. But like I say, guys, it's a good. Now you're looking at $70, right? It just came out. Nintendo's not going to get that game on discount for right now, but if you're blessed enough to pick it up, play it. You might like it. You're gonna get some hours into it. And I like it. It gives me something else to play besides Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. I have played Metroid Dread too, but the latest Metroid game, Hope, is Metroid Prime 4 Beyond that I'm playing. But very, 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 very good. Get you some time for your Switch 2. Now, coming up next, I'm going to switch off camera here because I'm going to talk about the latest in sports news. So let's get into it. NBA trade season tipped off Wednesday night with a former franchise player finding a fresh start. Trae Young, the face of the Atlanta Hawks for most of the past decade and arguably the franchise's most consequential player since Hall of Famer Dominique Wilkins, was sent to the Washington Wizards for guards CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. Why did Atlanta and Washington do this deal now? What's next in the evolution of both franchises? This is a fascinating deal with ripple effects for both teams and throughout the NBA. Let's dive into all of them, plus examine how the Young trade could affect other simmering potential deals across the league. Why did Atlanta do this trade when Atlanta chose not to extend Young this past offseason? It started the countdown to the end of his tenure with the team that drafted him number 5 in 2018. The Hawks, who did sign guards Dyson Daniels and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to 4-year contracts worth $162 million, had made it clear that the future of the franchise didn't necessarily include Young. That's when Young, 27, and his agents began looking for an off-ramp and a team that would pay him through his prime years. Young did have some leverage. He could have declined his player option for 2026 to 2027 and walked via unrestricted free agency this July. Atlanta chose not to wait, a decision made easier by Atlanta's 2-8 record in the 10 games Young played this season. The guard was sidelined nearly 2 months because of a quad injury and a defense that slipped 14 points per 100 possessions when he was on the court. This now means the Hawks can fully lean into a young core featuring likely first-time All-Star Jalen Johnson, last year's number 1 pick, Zachary Rissecher, last year's most improved player, Daniels, and Alexander Walker, who has proved to be an excellent free agent signing. That grouping with either Onyeka Okongwu or Kristaps Porzingis playing center has been very successful this season. add a potential top 6 pick in the 2026 NBA draft via the New Orleans Pelicans or Milwaukee Bucks and around $30 million in cap space. And Atlanta now has the chance to grow into a consistent contender in the Eastern Conference. Other than a few details, this trade was essentially a three-way deal where the Pelicans got Jordan Poole, the Hawks got CJ McCollum, and the Wizards got Trae Young, one East executive told ESPN, referencing the Poole-McCollum swap from last June. If that had all happened in the summer in one move, there may have been some more questions for Atlanta. But the way this season has played out, and with how terrific Jalen Johnson has played as a creator, it makes more sense now. Why did Washington do this trade? This was a value move that the Wizards couldn't pass up. Young is a 4-time All-Star and multiple-time league assist leader at a position of dire need. He can facilitate offense for recent draft picks in shooting guard Trey Johnson, number 6 in 2025. Big man Alex Sarr, number 2 in 2024, and forward Keshawn George, number 20 in 2024. And the cost of taking on Young's $49 million player option for the 2026 to 27 season wasn't an issue for a team that was projected to hit the offseason with $80 million in cap space. Washington also cleared $14 billion by sending Kispert to the Hawks. This is pre-agency, a second East executive said. The Wizards are using cap space in this deal that they would have had this summer. The Wizards are hoping to mimic one of two recent moves. In 2019, as Oklahoma City was entering a roster restructuring period after trading Paul George and Russell Westbrook, bringing in veteran point guard Chris Paul helped develop young teammates in the roster, including future MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The other was from 2023 when the Houston Rockets, in a situation more similar to where the Wizards are now, were hoping to turn their situation around after drafting a number of prospects and aggressively acquired veteran point guard Fred VanVleet in free agency. What did the league think of the deal? The prevailing opinion from sources around the league was that Atlanta did well to move away from a player in Young who is both extremely expensive and plays a position, point guard, that might be the NBA's deepest. I know from a value proposition why you look at it, an East Scout said, but if I'm the Wizards, just keep being bad and stuff will figure itself out. I'm not sure why they felt the need to do this. A Western Conference executive pointed to Young's defensive deficiencies coupled with the rise in offensive production around the league as making it difficult to bet on Young's future value. Offense is so easy now, the executive said. One of the worst teams in the league can still easily put up 115 points in a game. It's hard for these small point guards to have real value with how the game is played now. Meanwhile, the strong expectation around the league is Young will sign an extension with the Wizards. And that's the latest in sports news, ladies and gentlemen. We're trying to get back into our sports talk as well. I know I haven't been talking about sports that much, and I apologize for that. Now, the next part of the podcast, before we wrap this episode, you guys know what I got to do. I've got to do a reading for you guys, because if I'm not in my house to read for you guys, I bring the book here in Atlanta to my studio, to the stage to read for you guys. Now, again, if you guys know, I've renewed my faith with God. If that's not your thing, if this is not your thing, you are free to click off this podcast. But if this is your thing, stay tuned. You never know what you like until you like it, right? So what I'm going to do too is I'm going to not skip some days, right? I think I won't label these into days because I know the last reading I did was January 3rd and tonight is January 9th. It's just one of those things that I'm trying to also stay consistent to you guys. So I won't label this part into days because I'm gonna read one that's from yesterday, the 8th, instead of the 9th. And then I think tomorrow on just social media I'm gonna read the 9th for tomorrow, and tomorrow's the 10th, right? It's just something I got to do now because I'm trying to keep up with you guys and doing these readings. I just, again, podcasting after podcasting after podcasting after tech work, after IT, after tech work, after the gym session. It's a lot of things going on. So, like I say, if this is not if this is not your thing, you can click off. But if this is your thing, you guys can stay tuned. So, anyway, I am reading God's Daily Wisdom for Men. This is 366 Devotions by Boyd and Bailey. We are starting this read over. I bought this book towards the end of the year last year, so we're just going to start over for 2026. And honestly, though, a lot of people loved when I published this, when I uploaded this part of the show, separate. People loved it. People chimed in on it. So I wanted to kind of read this for you guys. And shout out to a lot of spiritual, either if you're Christian or spiritual or not. Shout out to all the spiritual creators. I follow a lot of spiritual creators online, whether it's TikTok or Instagram. Lee. I'm sure it's short for Leah. Lee is one of my favorite creators on TikTok. I think she's really amazing. I did tune in to quite two friends of mine, Sierra and Kayla's Bible study. And ladies, if you're watching this show, the offer still stands. If you want a podcast about it, let me know because I can hook you up. But besides the point, I love spiritual creators down to Change Worship. Pastor Daniels has his Instagram, along with First Lady Shamika Daniels. They do content. And it's not like they're trying to get the views because they just do it because it's just something they love to do. So here's what I'm reading on today's chapter. Again, I won't specify it in dates anymore because I'm reading from yesterday. So this one says, pay attention. Now then, my sons, listen to me. Pay attention to what I say. This is from Proverbs 7:24. Pay attention, because there are some people who want to help you and some who want to hurt you. Pay special attention to those who seem to say the right things but have a hidden agenda in their heart. Everyone cannot be trusted, because not everyone is trustworthy. The sooner you discern a man or woman's motive, the quicker you will know how to manage your time. If their conversations is all about them, watch out for questionable behavior. Pay attention to the path people may want you to take. And so protect your reputation. Moreover, you have limited emotion capacity and attention span. So make sure that the Lord is leading you to get involved. Even good people, even good people in compelling cause can lead you astray. Pay attention and learn to say no so you can say yes to God's best. I struggle with saying no because I want to please people. That's me. And that was me, last year. This year, that's part of it, part of my reconstruction, to not say yes to everybody. Sometimes you got to say no to people. However, pleasing people is not the best motivation. Faith in my Heavenly Father is a much nobler goal. Learning to say no is how we gain peace and contentment over the long haul. When you say no to someone or something, you can trust your Savior Jesus to take care of the need and you. Your no opens the door for someone else to be blessed by their yes. In some cases, saying no requires more faith than saying yes. Therefore, pay attention and be prayerful before you commit time and resources. Certainly, as you encounter temptation, do not entertain the slightest hint of a yes. It is better to say no to his or her advances and lose a friendship than to say yes and lose your good name and gain regret. Pay attention and say no to earthly impulses. So you can say yes to heaven's best. I love it. The Bible says, set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. That's Colossians 3:2. The question is, in what area of my life do I need to pay more attention? Saying no more often. And that was pay attention from God's Daily Wisdom for Men, 366 Devotions by Boyd and Bailey. Let me tell you something. I like that read. I am one of those people, Hope and Audience, that I struggle to say no, because again, in the past, even the last year, I said yes to a lot of things. Right, I said yes to a lot of things that worked out for the better, but I lose my emotional drive from that one thing. I've said yes to a lot of things money wise, and I lost a lot of money by saying yes to something. Right. I haven't lost many friends this last year by saying yes or saying no to them. Um, I hope it doesn't burn my bridges, is what people will say. Just a couple of weeks in, I have quite a few friends that need help in production, whether it's sports production or whether it's personal production. And I said no. And it's not because I don't want to. It's not that because I don't like them. It's either A, I'm too busy, or B, I'm not. What's the idea? What's the gain from this? Not just financial, right? What's the alternative? What's the motive from this? What's the agenda from this? Right? And I've helped people in production and said yes and wasted my time, and they never used the content that I helped them produce, right? And it's like, okay, my time is precious. My time is for God. My time is for myself. My time is for my peace, right? And I'm giving that up. I'm sacrificing that because I want to say yes to this because I believed in it. But now if it's in production, for an example, if I'm saying yes to a production helping you film something, I expect you to use it, let alone put my name on it, right? Because if you don't, that's just a waste of my time and my skill set, right? I've said no to friends before in the past that needed money or advice on something that didn't suit them in their best interest. And it's not because of out of hatred. It's not because of out of animosity. It's like, no, that's not a good idea. Because when it comes down to, for an example, money, if I tell you no, you got to say, okay, I get it. Because the moment I give you help money, you might ask me again. And you might ask me one more time. And you might ask me again. Right? And that's not a friendship. If I'm just a bank to you, that's not how that works. Right? So I understand you got to say no. Right? Even though I've preached about and I said in my goal to get a girlfriend this year, yes. But I've said no to a girl because if you're not in my spiritual alignment, if you are bad for me, that is a no. And I thank God that I didn't fall into, because that's temptation. She was pretty, but she didn't have a goal. She didn't have alignment. She didn't have discernment. Right? So I had to say no. That was a tough no, but it was a no. Right? There's a lot of things, and even in different old positions. And hey, can you stay? No. Right? I gave you my time. Now I'm going to go find my time. Right? I do think that's a good read to a lot of people. Pay attention, right? I've had it previously. I've met some friends. I've met one friend that was really, really nice. He didn't ask me for anything. He asked me for his number so we can hang out. Right? I had another friend though who I met and we talked. And the next thing you know, hey, you ever thought about increasing your passive income? Like, oh shit, like I thought you wanted to hang out with me, buddy. I'm not trying to. No. Right. And it's not to say that finding ways to do passive income is not scam and not fraud, because I do have quite a few investments and quite a few things with passive income. But that friend that I met, they had a hidden agenda that really I saw clear as day. But it was a hidden agenda that, no, I don't want to be your friend. I just want to use you. sucks. Right? That's why I sometimes, and I'm guilty of it too, sometimes I be careful what I post on social media because I for some reason people think I'm rich, right? I don't know where people get that notion from. I just work really hard for my money. But when people see that and they know who you are, sometimes they may not want to be your friend and hang out with you and kick it with you. They want something from you, whether it's financial, and most of the time for me it's financial, money, right? Same thing for the ladies too, right? I've had it hope in audience where, you know, folks, they hey, I like you, I like how you do this, and they talk to you and they smooth you. Ladies, that they slick, they'll smooth you over, they'll talk to you, they'll try to flirt with you, they'll give you their social media, they'll spill the beans, but at the end of the day they start talking about money. That's the sales pitch. Money. And I'm not saying all women do this. That's not what I'm saying. That's the women that I've encountered. They'll start talking about money and how much things are. If they need a certain product or something, they complain about how much it is. And like, oh, I'm so stressed because this is costing me $300. And then they look at you like you're supposed to say, oh, I'll give you $300. That's their hitting agenda. Right? That's what you got to watch out for. That's what you got to pay attention to. And I'm not just picking on my ladies. Fellas do that too. Like I said, that one guy I met previously, we chatted. You know, we talked about media and workout routine, and I got their number, and it was cool, copacetic. They started talking about passive income and how to invest in this and that and the third, and we could do this together. That's your agenda. You didn't want to get to know me for me. You wanted something from me. And I said no, by the way. Because he texted me like, hey, have you thought about a conversation? No. I said, yeah, but I'm good. I got my own personal investments, my own thing going. I'm good, though. We haven't texted since. Right? We haven't texted since my no. Because he find out that, oh, I can't use them. I'll go on to the next person. Happens all the time. And I get it, because we are in this society. Unfortunately, people are struggling, right? As we're turning from 2025 to 2026, people are legit struggling to make some money. And I'm not shaming you for it, because it's a hustle right now. I get it. But that's the hidden agenda. People are People are going to do some things for desperation, right? Happens. So I do say to a lot of people, please pay attention. You're going to meet some genuine friends and helpmate. My woman of God, it's not going to be when I meet her because she has a hidden agenda. No, she's going to love me for me. I feel it coming. And I do say to a lot of people, pay attention. Pay attention, because it's real out here. So that's going to wrap it up here in our podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Great episode, by the way. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channels if you're watching us as well. We'll be back with more podcasting starting Monday. Weekend is here. We've taken off, but we hope that everyone have a fantastic weekend, and we'll catch y'all in the next podcast. This has been K.L.P Aftermath Podcast, presented by iHeartMedia. I've been your boy howdy, K.L.P Kennedy Lucas. See y'all next week. Yeah.